Okay, let's talk about something that drives so many of us crazy. That stubborn mold in the kitchen. It's one of those problems that just seems to come back no matter what you do. But what if the reason it keeps returning isn't what you think it is? You know the drill, right? You see it creeping into a corner, you grab the cleaning supplies, you put in some serious elbow grease and scrub until it's spotless. For a moment, it feels like you've won the battle. But then you fast forward a few weeks, maybe a month, you glance over at that same spot, and yup, it's back. That same frustrating patch of black or green just staring at you. It feels like this endless, impossible cycle. And almost always, we point the finger at one single thing, our cooking. All that steam from boiling pasta, all that simmering, it has to be the cause, right? Well, what if that's only half the story? What if the real problem isn't the cooking itself, but where all that moisture goes after you've turned off the hob? Look, it's a completely logical assumption to make. We can literally see the steam pouring off a boiling pot or rising from the kettle. It's visible moisture. So we connect the dots and think, aha, cooking steam equals dampness, which equals mold. It seems like a pretty straightforward case of cause and effect. But here's the crucial thing you need to know. When that visible cloud of steam just disappears into the air, the moisture hasn't actually vanished. It's just become invisible. And that's when it starts its secret journey all around your kitchen. This is where the real problem begins. So let's break down this little journey. First, your cooking releases warm, wet air into the room. Next, that air doesn't just hang around the cooker, it spreads out everywhere. And here is the absolute key. Step 3. That invisible moisture is drawn like a magnet to the coldest surfaces it can find. And finally, when it hits that cold surface, it turns back into liquid water. That's condensation, and that is mold's favorite food. So where are these cold spots? Well, kitchens are absolutely full of them. Think about it. External walls are just naturally colder. Tiled splashbacks and floors, they look great, but they don't hold heat at all. And of course, large windows are often the coldest surfaces in the room. All of these areas act like little traps, collecting moisture long after you've finished eating. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but hang on, I always use my extractor hood. And that's great, that's what you're supposed to do. But here's a little twist you might not know about. The very thing you think is solving the problem might not be doing the job you expect. It could actually be giving you a false sense of security. You see, there are two main types of hoods, and the difference between them is everything. Removal hoods are the ones that actually work. They suck the damp air up and vent it completely outside your home. The moisture is gone. But then there are recirculating hoods. They just pull air through a filter to catch grease and smells and then blow that exact same moist air right back into your kitchen. They do absolutely nothing about the moisture. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. If your hood makes the kitchen smell better but the windows are still streaming with condensation, then the moisture problem is not being solved. The number one job of a hood isn't getting rid of smells, it's getting rid of moisture. So because that damp air is just being pushed around the room instead of being removed, it gets trapped. It finds little pockets in your kitchen and creates these hidden microclimates. These are small, isolated areas that stay cool and damp, and they are basically a 5-star all-inclusive resort for mold to check in and thrive. So where are these mold hotspots? Definitely check inside your cupboards, particularly any that are fixed to an external wall. These spots are dark, they're shielded from any heat, and there's pretty much zero airflow. Also, have a look in the corners of the room, behind the fridge, and all around the window frames. These are all prime locations where cool, damp air gets trapped and just sits there, completely unnoticed. And this whole problem gets even worse with on-again, off-again heating. When your kitchen cools right down overnight, it gives all that trapped moisture even more time to condense on those cold surfaces. This isn't about one single meal creating a huge problem. It's about a tiny bit of moisture building up day after day, week after week, until you suddenly notice that patch of mold. And this all leads us to a really important shift in thinking. The mold that keeps coming back isn't a failure of your cleaning routine or your cooking habits. It's actually a sign that the kitchen's environment itself just isn't built to handle the moisture that cooking naturally creates. So the key here is to think about symptom versus cause. The mold you keep cleaning away, that's just the symptom. The real root cause is an environment that simply cannot get rid of moisture effectively. And as long as you only treat the symptom, the cause is still there and the mold will just keep coming back. And if you take away one single thing from this, let it be this. You can try to change your cooking habits all you want, but you'll have way more success if you focus on improving your kitchen's ability to control moisture. Better ventilation is so much more powerful than trying to boil less water. So the next time you see that spot of mold, don't just ask yourself, what did I cook? I want you to ask a different set of questions. Ask, is my extractor hood actually removing moisture? Is there enough airflow getting into my cupboards? Ask yourself, is my kitchen's environment failing me? Because understanding that, well, that might just be the key to solving this problem for good.